What's going on, guys? The Reef Kid 25 here. So this is my filter box that I made that's going to hide all of my filtration that I'm going to have in my 40-gallon frag tank. I wanted to build it to look like an overflow for a sump, just to kind of give it that clean look that the overflows have, and that's kind of what I did. It's a real basic design. I didn't put too much effort into it because, like I said, it's going to be in my office, but it's real simple and it still looks really clean. And for those who are following this to just want to do a 40-gallon breeder reef tank build, you can still use the method. Like for like the holes I drilled, I was a little fast and loose with it. But like if it's going to be a display tank, just take your time, measure it up, line it up, and just make everything level and clean, and it's going to look great. I mean, I even think that this looks just fine too, because once you have all the water, sand, rocks, and stuff, it's going to be not even noticed. But anyways, I'll go over how I built this real quick. So the first thing I did is I wanted it to be 5x8 because after measuring all my filtration, that seemed to be the perfect size. So it's 8 inches along here, and it's 5 inches along here. Now, these are only 12 inches tall, so I also had to do a... it's about 3.5 inches tall, and again 5 inches and 3.5 inches tall and 8 inches to give it the full height of the aquarium. Now I did it a little short, so we'd have some overflow from the water. Will flow into it over the top, as well as the holes to make sure that the flow through the chamber is efficient. I also, as you can see, I drilled these holes about 1/4 inch, just small enough to where, or big enough to where you can get a good flow, but small enough to where it'll hopefully keep all the snails and critters out of the overflow section, to kind of reduce the chances that you'll get, snails in the sumps or in your protein skimmer and your pump and, any other filtration you have in there. So how I cut this was, I just cut this with a box cutter. I just did the quick score and snap. So basically, once I had my measurements, I just went down and I cut it down with a box cutter, and then you just snap it real quick. You just do a quick pressure like against the knee, and it snaps really clean as long as you have a good score down. And so I did that with both. Once I measured it 5 inches, I scored it and snapped it. Once I measured 8 inches, I scored it and snapped it. And the same thing with these little guys below. Now, to get these adhered together, I didn't want to use the acrylic adhesive because I had read mixed reviews on it and I wasn't comfortable using it. I did buy it, but I decided to go a different route. What I ended up using was this Frag glue. It's something I had laying around. It's essentially super glue, but it works great. It cures in about 30 seconds, totally reef safe, and so that's what I ended up using. And that, it did give it a little bit of a white, that's the glue, that white there, but over time it'll get covered up with coralline algae and all the other stuff that ends up sticking to the acrylic, just like a tank with overflows. So that worked really well, cured in about 30 seconds. And then after that, once I had this this built, then I went ahead and I just used my black silicone, which is just the standard 100% black silicone, same as the clear silicone. It's just dyed black, totally reef safe. Really good stuff. It'll last a long time. It holds up just fine in a reef aquarium or in salt water. But I just ran a bead on the outside of this edge, and I just ran a bead on the inside of the edge as well. And that's how I got this filter chamber, or fake overflow is what I kind of like to call it, because that's essentially what I wanted it to look like. So as you can see, I got all these holes drilled up here, and then that's where all the filtration will go, right in there. So it's going to look super clean when it's all said and done, and all the sand and rock and everything is in there. So as you can see, it's it'll really not really be all that noticeable, and it doesn't take up much space in comparison to the actual size of the aquarium, but it's perfect enough to fit my protein skimmer, my hang-on back filter, my heaters, and with a little bit of extra room to add anything else that I want. So make sure to don't build this first. If this is something that you're going to do as well, make sure you get all your filtration before you build it, because you're going to need to get the true dimensions of all of your filtration to make sure that you're going to build the right size box. Now, The sump I'm using is a small sump, or not the sump. The protein skimmer I'm using is a small protein skimmer. But if I were to get another brand protein skimmer, the likelihood of it, as it, that this overflow box or filter chamber, isn't really going to work for any protein skimmer much larger than the one I have. So you just want to make sure to have your filtration, everything first before you start designing this, or at least make sure to pull the dimension offline and then build it a little bit bigger to what the dimensions say, just to be on the safe side. So that's that. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you later.